Welcome back. My name is Guy, and if you've watched some of my videos before, you know I work with Veneer quite often. Now whenever I post one of these videos, I get a ton of questions on my vacuum pump and bag system. Today I'm going to go over my equipment, the features of the equipment I have, how to use it, and also do a demo of how it's used. I'm also going to show you a new addition to my shop, which are these very cool vacuum clamping pods. So let me show you what all this stuff is and how it all works together. This is the VacuPress Professional model. It has a 6 CFM draw and uses a rocking piston pump. A couple nice things about this pump is that it has no cast iron in the chamber, so there's no chance of corrosion from moisture in typical woodworking glues. It's also really quiet, which you'll see in a moment. It requires almost zero maintenance since it's an oilless, dry running pump. It also features thermal protection, so it'll shut down to cool off if it gets too hot. It also has an auto cycling and a continuous run mode. The auto cycling is used mainly for vacuum pressing, and the continuous run is great for things like vacuum clamps and hold downs. Probably the coolest thing about the system is the digital readout. You can very precisely set both the high and low thresholds for the auto cycling function. Now let me turn this on. The first thing to notice really is how quiet it is. Now let me constrict the airflow here for a second. Now you can see the readout went from red to green on the top threshold number. Red is when it's drawing a vacuum and green is when it's reached its threshold. The bottom number here represents the lower threshold. So if I let go of the nozzle, it'll drop below the lower number and the system will turn on again until it reaches the upper threshold. Now if I choose to, I can narrow the band between the upper and lower thresholds to maintain a more consistent pressure. Another really cool thing is that the system can be adjusted to compensation for elevation above or below sea level, and that can affect the set points. There's absolutely no guesswork at all with this system. Well, I've got the pump turned around, and here you can see the filter canister. This is a nice thing to have, is it'll capture any dust that may get into the pump affecting its performance. All you do is just unscrew it, dump out anything that may be in the canister, and then put it back on. Now the vac hose that comes with this system is pretty nice. A lot of hoses are either too flexible, which makes them prone to collapsing or becoming misshapen over a period of time, or they're too stiff, which means they're a real pain to use. Now this hose is very flexible, and it actually has a wire coil between two layers of vinyl, and that gives you the best of both worlds. It has a chrome plated brass fitting, which is a quick disconnect, and then a brass fitting which goes up into the bag and the plate, and I'm going to show you that in a second. Now this is the bag that came with my system. This is an 8-foot bag. It's 30 mil vinyl, and I've got a couple other 30 mil vinyl bags, but I'll tell you what, this is really flexible for a 30 mil vinyl bag. It's really nice. It's all heat welded. It's not glued. The nipple that accepts the brass fitting for the hose is also heat welded. This is the end that connects to the pump. This goes in here, and I'll be doing a demonstration of this in a second. I just want to show you the bag and how it works. It came with 2 of these locking bars, which was also really nice. So I was able to take it and put another one right here and actually shorten the effective width of my bag, or length of my bag, which is really, really cool. So let me put a platen in here and I'll show you how the pump hooks up to this. This is one of the platens I made for the system, and it's roughly 4x2. This will work for 90% of what I use a veneer press for. It came with 2 of these, and these are just fittings that allow you to take the brass fitting from the pump, stick it up through the bag into there, and then I've cut some grooves in here, and that helps equalize the pressure inside the bag. This is a really cool system. The hose doesn't flop around at all. So let me get the platen in the bag, and then I'll show you how it attaches from underneath. Well, I ended up flipping the whole thing upside down because you'll never be able to see what I'm doing underneath. So right here is a little sleeve that I drilled into the platen, and this is the nipple that's going to be underneath that's going to accept the brass fitting. So all you do is line these 2 up, and obviously you'd be doing this from underneath the panel. And then this goes in through here and then into that sleeve, and that gives you a really, really nice secure connection. So I'm going to flip all this back over, and then we'll actually do a demonstration of how all this fits together and how you can press a veneer panel in this system. Well, I've got the vac bag all set up, and this is the substrate that I'm going to be veneering to. This is a 1/4 inch MDF. I'll be using this on a later project. I've got some maple veneer, it's already seamed and taped, and some backer veneer that's been seamed and taped. You need to veneer both sides of a piece, otherwise the substrate, if there's too much pressure on one side, it'll cup and warp. I'm going to be using Unibond 1. Now this is a PVA glue that's specially designed for veneering. It's got some additional solids in it that prevents bleed through of the glue, which you're going to get with regular PVA glue. You can use regular PVA glue depending on the type of veneer you're using, but I prefer to use one that's formulated for veneering. Another thing about this Unibond 1 is it leaves a really, really rigid glue line, so there's not a lot of creep that you're going to find with a lot of other cold press veneer glues or PVA. So I'm going to put some glue on here, I'm going to put this on, and then this on. I've got the glue on, and I should mention that the veneer is oversized and so is my panel. But I'm just going to put this on there basically in the center of that and press it on. You always want to add glue to the substrate and not to the veneer, because when the glue hits the veneer it will really curl and give you a problem. So now that I've got that side done, I can flip it around and do the same thing to the other side. So now I can take my maple veneer and put it on there. Make sure my seam is flat and make sure everything is nice and flat on there. And we're pretty much ready to put it in the bag. First thing I want to do is I'm going to put a caul between the platen and the work itself. I'm just going to put there in there like that. Now I have waxed this so the glue won't stick to it. Now I can take my workpiece, put it in the bag, and then I've got another caul that's going to sit on top of that. Now I can take my locking tube, I can put it in here. Now this bag also has some real nice Velcro strips on it to hold that piece in. That's a real nice touch for this bag. You're not fighting with your tube falling out of there. I'm going to center it. And then I'll apply the C channel over the top, and that'll seal the bag. Well, we're all set to go. I just need to turn the pump on, and you're going to see it go from red to green, and when it hits 25 inches of mercury, it'll shut off. Right now we're about 22 inches of mercury, and as that number goes down, it'll take about 15 minutes or so for it to hit 21, and then it'll cycle back up to 25. Now, just to give you an idea how much pressure is being applied here, if you took that number 22 and divided it in half, that would be 11. That gives you 11 pounds per square inch on this piece. Given the size of the piece here, it's roughly about 2,000 pounds or a ton of weight. A literal ton of weight being applied to there. That's going to give you a really, really good bond between the substrate and the veneer. Well, it's been about 50 minutes or so. I'm just going to shut this off, disconnect the hose, and then get it out of the bag. It's out of the bag, it's nice and flat, and I'm just going to let this sit for a couple hours and we'll get the tape off of it. Well, it's been a couple hours. I'm just going to spritz some water on this tape. Get it wet, let it sit for a couple minutes, and that'll pull right up. Another really cool thing that you can do with a vacuum pump is use vacuum clamping. Now I've got 4 what they call pods here. These are aluminum, and there's a seal around both the bottom and the top. There's a foot pedal, a hose goes to the vac pump, and a hose is going to go to one of these pods. Let me move a couple of these out of the way here. Now the way this hooks up is real simple. There's just a little rubber plug that comes out of the bottom. You hook up the other end of the hose to the pod itself. And then when I put the pump on continuous run, this gets sucked down to the table and it's not going anywhere. If I hit the foot pump, it releases it. Now you can also do an array of up to 4 of these together. I'm going to hook up 2. So you just remove that one rubber plug there and the rubber plug here. I'm going to take a short length of hose. I'm going to go from here to here. Now if I turn the system on again, these are both sucked onto the table now. Like I said, you can put up to 4 of these. I can put as many as you want. I have 4 in an array. You can also make custom clamping, which is very, very cool. Another thing on here is that there's little rubber plugs right here, and these can be knocked out. Now that I've got those little plugs out of here, I can take a couple of these screws. Now these are supplied with the kit, and they have little rubber washers on them. So I can actually mount these pods vertically and clamp something vertically to them. Let's say to do edge banding, for instance. Very, very cool. Let me show you one of these in use. Now I'm just going to use one for this demonstration. All I need to do is turn it on continuous run. And this is actually sucked down to that now. I'm going to take the panel that I made before, just like that. It's on there really, really tight. If I release the foot pedal, that comes off, and I can reposition it. I hope to answer some questions you have about using a system like this. Veneering is very easy, and it's a fun way to add some spectacular wood to your projects. I hope that you'll give it a chance sometime. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.